Was it a foul on David Raya? Yes. Was it in the right of VAR to stop the game for a clear and obvious mistake from the referee? Absolutely. However, this is where the problem lies. The context, the situation, the way it looked. Because they spent 5 minutes in looking at a situation that should have been a clear and obvious foul. Now, this is where the game has a little bit of a gray area that we need to absolutely understand. Now, when it comes to a clear and obvious foul, the reason why it's called clear and obvious or clear and obvious mistake is that you can absolutely see it the moment it happens. Now, when there are inconclusive situations, you see them back off. Example, what happened to Benjamin Šeško? However, what we saw today was it was meant to be covered immediately. You saw the arm over David Raya. You saw the pull of the shirt behind David Raya. You saw all those things, and that itself, it's a foul. But that is not just the reason why this is a controversy. That is not just the reason why this decision might have absolutely put the trophy in one person's hands and send the other person into championship. It is because of who it went for. It is because it is Arsenal. And it's not because Arsenal is hated. It's not because Arsenal are the incumbent or the team that is going to win the Premier League. It is because this has been a precedent that was set by Arsenal. It's been a precedent that Arsenal set 2 years ago. It's been 2 years that they have been mastering this situation. And they have absolutely made it perfect in the way they execute it. But the key part about this situation is not about Arsenal. It's not about West Ham. It's about the coach, the reffing. It's about the reffing standards. Because what did they do today? They cancelled a goal that could have given West Ham a point to stay up in the Premier League, while giving Arsenal all 3 points in order for them to go 5 points ahead of Manchester City. Now, why is that such a controversial situation? Because all the months before this month has always seen those situations happen for Arsenal and it not be called. And this is the situation, and this is why it's so hard for me to absolutely look at this and be like, my goodness, it's going to taint the Arsenal trophy. No, it's not going to be an asterisk because Arsenal deserve to win this league. However, the fact that the referees are not being consistent over the board in rules or putting the rules in the right way is what people are going to feel that it has tainted the win of Arsenal. That is the difficult part. It's not about conspiracy theories. It's about consistency. You understand? Because this is now a foul. What happened for the rest of the season before? What happened in the beginning of the season? What happened then? Because I can give you points and points where it should have been a foul on the goalkeeper and the goal shouldn't have stood for Arsenal. And that is what people are talking about. Now you will hear a lot of content creators talking about players are being, or fans are being ingenuous, or whatever the word is, because this exact thing did not happen to other goalkeepers. It does not need to happen. If it's a foul, if you're protecting the goalkeepers, if you catch the goalkeepers, it's consistency. And that is what is difficult for fans to absolutely put together. But before we go deep into what I think about the situation, let's focus on what happened itself, the incident itself. You understand? The incident itself. Let's start with the truth. Pablo fouls David Raya. That's simple. That's the truth. There is no denying that fact. The arm across David Raya was absolutely there. The shirt in the back of David Raya's collar was absolutely there. It was preventing movement for the goalkeeper. Raya was unable to attack the ball, and that truly is a mistake. That truly is a foul. We understand that crystal clear. You understand? The ref initially gave the goal. VAR intervened. They replayed that situation 17 times, 17 angles reportedly was used for that decision. The review lasted around 4 to 5 minutes, but the outrage itself was not about the foul. The outrage was about Arsenal themselves having been allowed to do this all season. That is where the problem laid. That is where the problem is rising right now. Now, Arsenal, and we all know that Arsenal are not the team when it comes to having rival fans celebrate their success. It's dark arts every single time they have been doing it this season. It's just straight up dark arts. Now, don't get me wrong. Jose Mourinho did dark arts. Conte did dark arts. Every smart manager that understands if you can work the system, you work it. They have done this every single time. You understand? So it's not Arsenal. Arsenal are not the first persons or the first people to do this. They are elite at set pieces. The physicality that they use to dominate other people are absolutely crystal clear. They are masters of goalkeeper disruptions. Now, every single person can argue, oh, we do not hold the goalkeeper. We just block the goalkeeper. That right there is a foul. If you block someone from going to the destination that he's meant to go to, it is a foul because you're impeding the goalkeeper. And that is where the problem laid. You understand? You're looking at Nicolas Jover come to the forefront of situations and create this mastermind. And I put air quotes because it is literally just putting players and making plays like as it's the NFL, where you literally have somebody check the goalkeeper before the goalkeeper can go up in the air. Ben White comes to mind. The set piece routines, we have seen it so clearly. 3 players at the back post. 1 player standing in the front of the goalkeeper, 1 player standing on the side of the goalkeeper. The ball literally crosses into where the goalkeeper is meant to be standing towards the net of the goalkeeper in an Olympic situation. And then you see the attack from the back post on that same position. It's just about chaos. And because they are dominant, because they are tall, and because there is a willingness to go get the ball, they go get it. Now, don't get me twisted. Those situations, if done right, legal. But impeding the goalkeeper is not. Ben White, specifically when he came back from his injury, that was his whole stick. He was targeting the goalkeepers, and it's absolutely clear to understand. Think about Ben White versus Vicario, Arsenal versus Spurs. This is the biggest example that you can absolutely think about. White repeatedly backing into Vicario. That's a foul. If you repeatedly back into a player that is going to look at it, think about it. If a player does it 1-2, for instance, and that player that he does a 1-2 around steps in his path where he's running to impede him from getting to that position, that's a foul. That's exactly what is happening. You're stopping Vicario from going for the ball. That's preventing movement. Sports fans at that particular time were furious about the situation. The debate exploded online afterwards. But guess what? The goal stood. The goal stood. This was the moment football collectively noticed that Arsenal were gaming goalkeeper protection rules. It was crystal clear. Think about Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. The obstruction around Dean Henderson. Come on. Crowding the 6-yard box. Blocking the goalkeeper's routes. All these things are really clear. Arsenal versus Newcastle. Gabriel screening. White impeding the movement. David Raya protected when fouled. Contrast to attacking situations. All these things are things that Arsenal have been guilty of. And another thing that I know personally because I watched the game. I watched the full 90 minutes. Arsenal versus Manchester United. Don't get it twisted. Don't let anybody tell you that, oh, this is a freeze frame. The freeze frame is also the thing that they use to determine VAR for sometimes. You see Saliba absolutely cupping the elbow of Altai. It is crystal clear. Nobody can tell me that that is not a foul. It is the closest thing to what we saw today. But guess what? Arsenal won that game and got 3 points. It was literally basketball style picks. You standing with the, what they call it, the wall. Is the pick and roll basically. It's the pick and the roll. That's exactly what it is. Someone impedes the goalkeeper and the other person goes and gets the ball. That is it. And the funny thing about it is that Arsenal have been so dominant about gaming this goalkeeping protection rules that it's remarkable to mention. Arsenal among the Premier League leaders in set-piece goals over the last 2 seasons. They are among the top Premier League goal scorers when it comes to set pieces. There was a massive increase under Nicolas Jover. The moment he arrived at Arsenal, you saw the tick because he brought the antics into the game. Significant percentage from corner kicks and free kicks. Significant. And then you look at Ben White, repeatedly identified by pundits for goalkeeper disruption. But those things never changed. Those things kept on going throughout the season until now. And you might say, oh, this is accidental. It is not accidental. This is a plan. This is a routine. This is a system that they absolutely created for themselves when it comes to attacking set pieces. Arsenal weaponized chaos better than anyone in England, arguably better than anyone in European football. Now, this is not Arsenal's fault. I need you guys to understand this. It is not Arsenal's fault because whoever gives you an edge to win the league, you take it. It is the quality of the refs in the game. That's the problem. That's the consistency. That is the main argument in this situation. This issue isn't whether this is a foul. It is a foul. We know that crystal clear. This issue is about this foul getting punished. It's not about the foul itself because we know that it's a foul. On the letter of the law, it is the foul. It's about it being punished. It's about it being executed. It's about it being called back in this situation for this opponent. After understanding, after the world of football have watched Arsenal get away with similar things every single week. Now that's hyperbole, but a lot of times where they got the heading goals, that is what they did. The Jared Bowen was questioning the consistency. We know that after the game. West Ham have literally put a complaint to PGMOL that they need more answers. And yes, we know the pundits are split, but this is the key part because West Ham are not going to get those points back. And this position right here could literally take them down. This decision could literally take them down. Now, the hardest thing that you could do in a league, the worst thing that you can absolutely have as a chairman of the league or as a league that a lot of people watch is if people start doubting the integrity of that league. If you start doubting the integrity of the league, you lose the best part about the league. You lose the jeopardy of the league. You lose the unpredictability of the league. And that is what this decision is starting to do. Football fans can accept strict officiating. What they cannot accept is selective officiating. We can accept you telling us, if you do this, you get this. If you do this, you get this. And you be strict with it. What we are not going to accept is you deciding to be selectively blind when it comes to a specific team. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not about Arsenal. I keep on repeating it. It's about the referees. It's not about Arsenal. It's about the referees. If referees decide to crack down on goalkeeper obstruction consistently moving forward, fine. But then Arsenal may lose one of their most devastating attacking weapons. We all know this for sure. And that is where, if they did the start of the season, where would we be? Where will we be at this point in time? Because we saw the best goalkeeper, or arguably that has ever played in the Premier League, say, if Arsenal would not be top of the table right now. If this was a foul, they would not be at top of the table right now. But guess what? I keep on repeating it. It is not about Arsenal. Arsenal have gamed the system and they have absolutely gotten rewarded by it. And hopefully, they can go on to win the league. But this is the hypocrisy though. That is the that absolutely grinds my teeth. It grinds my nerves. Some Arsenal fans are acting like this is an outrageous criticism. It's not. Or even many Arsenal supporters admit that they have benefited from these similar situations before. And that is where people are absolutely holding their pitchforks to this particular decision. You understand? Arsenal fans know this. They know this. Irony about this situation is that Arsenal may genuinely have been victims of a correct decision, while also being the team most responsible for normalizing this decision. That is the thing that absolutely grinds my gears. It does. It's surely a bigger football problem. Let's zoom out a little bit, because that is what we need to focus on. We're not just focusing on Arsenal itself or focusing on this particular problem. With Pillar Sports, we zoom out, we look at the whole narrative, and we come to the right situation, hopefully, most times. Chaos at corners are not doing the beautiful game any aesthetic point. It's not giving us any aesthetic point. It's not giving us any beauty points. It's not good for the game. Impossible refereeing standards. When you see that kind of chaos happening in the 18-yard box, it is virtually impossible to see it right at the start. And then you also then compound that with selective VAR intervention. That doesn't help at all. Couple that with what should be a clear and obvious situation. But you have so many inconsistencies when it comes to your clear and obvious fouls. Former referees defining the decision as, yeah, it's a little iffy. But we all know what the widespread problem and criticism about the consistency of the Premier League. We know that it's crystal clear to us. The Premier League environment where every corner is basically controlled chaos. You literally see Arsenal fans, they get a corner kick, they celebrate it like as if they got a penalty kick, because they know that they got away with a lot of stuff this season. And now nobody knows where this is going to actually go. Nobody knows where the line is for this particular one. Nobody really knows. So yes, West Ham's goal was probably, let me say that a little bit better. West Ham's goal should probably have been disallowed. We know that for a fact. But football fans are not angry because the law was applied in that situation. They are angry because the law has been selectively applied throughout the season. And Arsenal, I repeat, on Arsenal, more than anyone, have benefited from this grey area. So let's be crystal clear. It is not about Arsenal. I keep on repeating this. It is about the refereeing standards. The real question right now is simple. If this is finally a foul, how many Arsenal goals from the last 2 years will survive this review? Let me know in the chat. How many goals will survive the review? And then let's basically break it down and see how we can absolutely calculate where Arsenal would be in the table right now. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the follow button, and do not forget to hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.